Hello and welcome. My name is Tara, intuitive healer, teacher, and guide specializing in shadow work. I'm going to be talking about surrendering in this episode pertaining to our ability to release from attachments, release from our subconscious, release from our mind, release from our emotions. This has been one of the most profound experiences that I have really paid attention to and trying to master. And since I have been consciously working on it, it has been hugely life-changing for me. Now, if you've caught some of my other episodes, I have talked a few times about my experience with struggle. And struggle is very common. It's a very, very, very common experience for us to find ourselves in. Struggle weighs on our mind, struggle weighs on our body, on our emotion, on our emotions, and on our energetic self. It comes from our subconscious. Stems from our subconscious belief patterns that we have buried deep, deep, deep within. Some of it will be conscious, some of it we will be aware of, but a lot of it comes from a very deep place or places that we have buried within. And it can play out in many different areas of our lives. It can play out in the struggle of relationships, struggle of finances, struggle in just life in general. It's also where we carry self-imposed pressure and stress on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We have to perform. We have to have this kind of life. We have to make this much money. We put all this weight and our pressure on ourselves. And it comes again from our subconscious patterns, our belief system that is buried deep within. And when we are really thick in these belief systems and within our shadow, then it becomes very normal. And we can live in these patterns and live in these experiences for as long as we decide to, until we start to go deeper within and create conscious awareness around what is limiting us, what is creating the struggle, what is creating the pressure and the stress that we feel within ourselves. Because again, and I've mentioned this before, nobody is putting pressure on us. We create it ourselves. But again, it comes from our subconscious. It comes from our deeper wounds, our traumas, our stored energies, our memories, our subconscious belief system. So if we believe that life is difficult, if we believe that life is hard, if we believe that we are not worthy of the life we want, if we believe that we are going to be attacked, for speaking our truth or for creating success, if we believe that something bad is going to happen, if we have these subconscious patterns buried deep within, then we create it, we manifest it in our reality and mostly within ourselves. All right. And so struggle is a major result of that. And I've mentioned this before, I've been living full-time in struggle mindset for the majority of my life, as long as I can remember. And it has taken up until just recently for me to break free from it. And I won't say 100%. I mean, sometimes it does creep in from time to time, but very, very, very minimal, very minimal. And I'm really aware of it when it happens, very aware, because my conscious level has increased. My conscious levels have increased of how I am acting, how I'm feeling, what is really the truth and what is happening in here, which is not the truth. It's the truth. It is a false truth that I have created based on my belief system that has been hardwired since early life. And so the whole point of this work and myself sharing this information with you is to break those cycles, break those patterns, and create more awareness with what is happening within the mind, within the emotions, within the subconscious, so we can break free from it, so we can have a more liberated and whole life, free from the struggle, free from the stress, free from all the limitations that we have deep within. Now, if you're saying, well, I don't really feel struggle, it could show up in different ways. It could show up in how we are interacting with people, how we perceive relationships, our guardedness, our protectedness, our triggers, for example. Struggle can show up in many different ways. Struggle is a very broad term, but it can show up in obvious ways. My life is difficult. I'm always going to be single. Why can't I find the right partner? I'm not making enough money. I'm not going to get ahead. Everything's getting so expensive. This world is becoming very difficult to live in. There's so much pain. There's so much suffering. There's so much sorrow, the war, the health issues. When we look at life through that lens, we are creating very dense energy and very restrictive opportunity within ourselves for growth, right? And that dense energy, the fear, the struggle, the worry, the pressure, the stress, it weighs on us energetically. And so everything is energy. And when we create this heavier energy, the worry, the fear, the struggle, then we become very entrapped in it. and it does weigh on us, and it does affect the body. And I'll mention this in every video if I have to. Your body is your last resort. When your body is coming up with aches and pains and diseases and illnesses, anything, it is trying to tell you something. And I'm going to say this because this is my belief, only just where I'm coming from. A doctor will not be able to tell you where it's coming from your emotional and your subconscious self. You'll get medicated, you'll have a prescription for something, and that will pretty much be the end of the story. And that subconscious belief and that pattern that you have within yourself still exists. And it needs to be uncovered so that you can alleviate the pressure and the stress and the burdens of your life that come from in here. The burdens, there are no burdens in our outside world. We create that. Okay, so it is seeing that in that reality, but it does take a lot of effort and work to break through those, okay? The biggest payout, the biggest reward that you will experience for this work is understanding the experience, the frequency, the feeling of surrender. When we are in struggle, it is a form of control as well. And I've mentioned this before, our ego likes patterns, our ego forms an identity that we live under, that we live within, that can be very defensive, very controlling, very reactive, can be very harsh on our reality and on ourselves and on other people. And so when we start to dismantle these layers and we start to trust the process, trust ourselves, let go of that energetic weight and the struggle and the fear and all of that really heavy energy that we have within ourselves, we start to open up to trusting the universe, trusting ourselves, trusting the cosmic plan or the cosmic experience that we are in. The bigger experience that we are in. When we are in the struggle, when we are in the fear and the worry and the doubt, our mindset and our focus becomes very limited. It becomes very, very focused on what is wrong, what isn't working, the struggle, the upset, the attachments, the regret, the loneliness, the what is wrong in our life. And when we're focusing on what's wrong and when we are living in what is wrong, then we are not allowing ourselves to open up and trust and surrender and just be. When you can let go of the struggle, the fear, the worry, the attachments, the loneliness, the heavy energy within, then you will float in the surrender, the act of surrender. And I say the word float because that process from you going into the struggle, the attachments, the worry, the heavier energy, and you let go. As soon as you let go of it, it is going to feel scary. It's going to feel uncertain. It is going to feel unknown because you probably have been living your whole life or most of your life in a certain way, in a certain experience, in a certain maybe trauma, in a certain subconscious pattern, in a certain belief system. When you let go of that, what happens? What happens? Your mind, your ego goes, what is happening? I don't like this. Let's go back. And you're going to want to go back into what feels safe and what feels it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's what is known. It is what has been developed as a truth that is not the real truth and not the real reality. It has become the truth as you know it or as we know it. So when we break through that, there's going to be a moment of floating, the trust, letting go. What does it feel like to fully let go? It feels like nothing. And if we've been in a state of perpetual thinking, processing stress, struggle, worry, doubt, fear, like a motor, constantly going through these actions, these beliefs, these fears, these energies, constantly living in it, you turn it off, what happens? It's not easy. You have to trust your body, your mind, everything, your old programming is going to want to go back into what's familiar. And so it takes a lot of conscious effort and awareness of the feeling of trusting and letting go and starting to create a new reality and live a certain way that you've never lived before. That's a whole learning learning process, but it's very, very subtle, and it requires a lot of very fine-tuned conscious work. Your awareness and your conscious levels will increase through that work of the act of surrender, moving towards the act of surrender. Now, what is surrender? Surrender is when you are in radical trust, when you let go, when you're not living in fear, when you're not holding on to attachments, when there's no regret, worry, sadness, fear of the future, when you trust. And you know that this is working out just fine, and it is working out no matter what situation you are in your life. You can put yourself into that frequency of trust and surrender. I trust myself. I trust the universe. I trust this process. And then you start to see more. You start to see more about life and reality and yourself. You start to understand relationships more. You start to see more. You start to feel more, because the subconscious patterns, the stress, the fear, the struggle, the worry, the pain, the sorrow, unconscious patterns of this, some of it is going to be very unconscious, some of it's going to be conscious, are going to start to dissolve. And you're going to increase your awareness, and and also through this process, you get to heal yourself quicker. You get to create more. You get to experience more. You get to understand more. And you get to, like I said, feel and sense more. Relationships become more of quality. Your life becomes more of quality, right? And also, too, I mentioned this in a TikTok video, if you are working on improving your health, really wanting to implement a diet, watching a lot of the, big influencers talk about the diets they do, and they recommend, everyone's different, by the way. Everyone has a different way of existing within their body. Okay. When you start to connect with your body, when you start to connect more with yourself, when you dissolve the limitations, if you have low worth, low esteem, low confidence, if there's lack of love on a very, very, very deep level, when you start to dissolve those subconscious programs or the lack of love, and you start to become more whole and start to open up to unconditional love and love yourself more, you're naturally going to heal, and you're naturally going to feel good about yourself and your body. And your body is going to adjust to that accordingly. You're going to naturally want to eat good food. You're naturally going to want to treat your body well. You're naturally going to want to live life to its fullest. All right. And so when you go into this act of surrendering, it's the process of, it's a very fine line of dismantling those false patterns and beliefs that you have embedded deep, deep, deep within. When you go into the act of surrendering and trust, that's where everything starts to change. And it may be a dance. It may be a fine dance, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, okay, I get it. I get what that is, being in struggle or not being able to let go of something or holding on to something, or even, again, subconsciously sometimes is really hard to do this on your own. It really is. It does require some guidance for the deeper work. But some of it you can do on your own. Some of it you can see and sense, a lot of self-observation. And the more work that you do on this with yourself, the more you will discover about yourself. Oh, that's what that means. That's how I feel. This is, and you start to discover, you naturally will start to dismantle some of those layers. Moving into surrender is letting go. It's not letting go of doing your work. It's not letting go of what you want in life. It is the energetic feeling and sense of being in flow. Being in flow. Sorry, there's a rooster, and he just started when I started talking, so it's all fine. I hope it doesn't distract too much, but it's being in flow. It's being in flow and being open for synchronicities, being open to create. We are here to create, to experience. And the more in flow that we are, the greater our life experience is going to be. Bottom line. So when we surrender, when we let go of the fear, the worry, the doubt, the struggle, the sadness, the judgment, the criticism, judgment on others, judgment to ourselves, criticism of others, criticism of ourselves, the shame, as I mentioned in my last episode, then yes, our life becomes more fulfilled. Our life becomes richer. It becomes fuller. And we start to experience more. We start to break patterns. And I've mentioned this many times before, that process between being in the struggle, the fear, the lower density energies, belief systems, thoughts and emotions, coming from that place, moving into surrender, radical trust, and creation is going to take some time to feel into it, to adjust to it, because the way you feel it is going to be the way you feel it and you experience it. Myself telling you and explaining it how it feels is not going to do justice, because the way you feel it is going to be unique for you. But I do encourage you to try and feel into the act of surrender and trusting the universe. And I'm talking deep, deep, radical trust from your core, from your heart. Trusting the process and letting go, not holding on to worry. When am I going to make money, or am I going to be living like this forever? And I have only so much money to live on. Money's the huge one now. Money's the new God. It's the new ruler. But we do that. We create that. So putting so much emphasis on what we don't have, the lack, the struggle, that is limiting our ability to create. When we let go of that, we're opening up for opportunities to find us, creative solutions to download, because we are letting go of dense energies and struggle and control. We let go of that. We open up to greater ideas. We open up to creative solutions. We open up for more energy within ourselves to be in flow, to have more fun, to enjoy life, and to create and to find greater opportunities for us to succeed or to experience, or for relationships and love. That is how it works. And so being in flow and being in surrender does take quite a bit of an adjustment to really feel into what it is. What does it mean for you? There was a time when I felt like I trusted and that I was in surrender, but I wasn't. And that's why it takes a lot of conscious effort and awareness to dive into the depths of this experience and fully understand what it feels like for you, and how deeper can you go with it. Just naturally. Try not to force it, but be aware. It's through awareness and observation. Where can you allow for more trust within the process, within yourself, within your life, within the universe? How can you let go? Let go of the fear and the worry and stressing out about tomorrow, or what isn't working, or what might happen. If we're in fear of what might happen, we're in fear of something that hasn't even happened or doesn't even exist. But we put our energy into that quite often. What if? What if this happens? What if this doesn't work? What if this fails? What if I can't pay my bills? Don't worry about it, because it hasn't happened yet and it doesn't exist. But we already put ourselves into this lower density experience and this reality that we create based on our fears and based on our worries and our struggles, etc. When we let go of that, we start to, like I said, open up for more. All right. And we start to lean into the feeling of trust. I trust this process. I'm going to let go. And that, like I said, will take time to live in that full time. And I'm just starting to get into it. I would say probably the last 3 months, I've really been feeling more and more and more into it. And like I said, if there is a time where I feel I'm going back into the worry, the struggle, the negativity, what isn't working, my old stories, what I'm saying to the universe, what I'm saying out loud, what I'm saying to myself, what I'm thinking, I own it. And then I switch it right away into, this is not the true reality. This is my mind. These are old triggers. These are old responses. I'm letting them go. And just after that, a few moments after, it will start turning around again. And being in radical trust and in flow is very expansive, very expansive. It is so worth this work. Let me tell you, it is so worth this work. It has changed everything for me, but it has taken a lot to trust this process and to let go. And now I see my bigger timeline. I see things unfolding. I've had things show up to me, for me. And it just feels very natural. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like I'm going up the down escalator. It doesn't feel like I'm climbing a never-ending mountain. It just feels like I'm creating and I'm enjoying it and I'm in the process. We're in the process today, right now in this very moment. You are investing into your future today. You are creating your future today, right now. So how do you want your future to be? Do you want it to be full of fear? Do you want it to be of worry, of lack, of limitations, of struggle? Or do you want to let it go and create your future that is limitless, that is in the flow of surrender, in the experience of surrender, creation, trust, that is where ease lies. And that is where we get to really create, is when we are in surrender, when we are letting go, when we are flowing, when we are maybe, living how we feel, trusting our intuition, following our heart, creating based on what is guiding us, not forcing it. It takes time to change the mindset. Again, reprogramming your subconscious does take a lot of effort. There's a very strong interplay between the ego with that. As I mentioned this many times, the ego wants to hold on to old stories. The subconscious is full of old stories, old programs, and old beliefs. And it runs very, very deep, very deep. Sometimes, like I said, we can't even see it. But picture it as everything is energy. How do you feel about your future? How do you feel about your ability to create success? How do you feel about your life right now? Do you trust? Are you in flow? Can you let go? Are you thinking about something stressful, negative, fear-based on a regular basis? If so, how can you let go of that? And know that the ego will create a story that will feel very real. And you will feel and have the need to be right about that feeling. The ego will create an excuse and justify that feeling and that worry and that stress and that fear and that struggle. It will create a narrative and a story and a feeling that will be so strong that it feels like there is a need to feel that way. There is a need, well, I am stressed and worried because I have no money. Well, if you have no money, then why add on additional stress and pressure on top of that? You can still have however much you have without the stress and the worry and let go of it and then move into creation. Okay, I have this is where I'm at financially. So what can I do about it? Change it into constructive thinking. Let go, surrender, and create. Be open to receive. Be in receptivity. When we are in receptivity, we are in a state of surrender. We are in the act of surrender. We let go of the pressure, the even control, the need, the desire, the want, that pressure that we put on ourselves to have something, to get ahead, to want a certain relationship, put pressure on ourselves to be better, even with self-development and healing and this transformative journey manifestation. We can put pressure on ourselves. Why isn't this working? Why aren't I seeing results? How come I'm not having what I want? What you are creating and what you're manifesting is happening on some kind of level. We are all on different journeys. All right. But the more that we can let go and take the expectations off ourselves and the pressure off ourselves and be in that state of surrender, I will guarantee you will experience more than you expected. If you have an expectation, you're going to get more. That's just the way it is. If you have an expectation, you're going to get more. You are going to get more joy and fulfillment and life experiences than you had ever expected. When we have an expectation, we think we know what it's going to be. We think we know what we want. We think we know what's best for us. There's more. There's more than that. I promise you. When we let go of that expectation that we put on ourselves, we will experience more. We will discover more about ourselves. We will go, wow, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. That's how it works. And I see myself better. I feel my reality differently. I have quality relationships. I feel more. I sense more. Anyway, I don't want to repeat myself because I've said this so many times. And this is one of the most important aspects of our ability to experience life and to create and to manifest and to just be in our highest potential. And this is one of the most difficult things to overcome, is moving into surrender and feeling into what does that feel like to fully just trust and float. Because when you float, you then fly. You fly and you rise above. And that is a process from floating, maybe floating back into the old ways, kind of going into the future of this new ability to surrender, to trust, to create, and then you start to fly. And then you know what that feels like. So you have a bird's eye view of your life. You just know. Your intuition will grow. Your knowing will expand. Your consciousness will obviously, of course, increase because of this work as well. Okay, so it is a very, very important aspect of this process. So if you have any questions at all, please leave a comment here. I will get back to you right away. And if you want guidance with your transformative and manifestation journey as well, reach out. I'd be happy to help. And I'm wishing you all the best with your journey and beyond. Until next time, I will be seeing you very soon, and take care.